think people actually understand that when you increase tariffs, it's the consumer that pays for
I
it.
really don't believe it. I really think it's fake because he was like, I set up these. I thought about how can I, get have this go well or whatever. How can I help the new presidency?
They talk about DEI and all that stuff. I don't know. It messes me up because it's like
You're like that doesn't even
have all of these licenses,
right. Like
and you know where it gets even. All right, so this past
I know,
and you guys shouldn't have got me started down this road.
I have to take off your blazer, bro.
You know,
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
Hey, do me a favor really quickly. Please share, like, and subscribe. Our goal here really is to empower and inspire you guys to build wealth and achieve your goals through relatable conversations. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, please share, like, and subscribe. And you can even share with your enemies, right?
that's right.
That's how we can help them get saved.
Exactly. Now, it's your boy Kay, and I got my boy here.
Alan.
And Tosin.
And we got some really, really great topics to talk about today, right, Tosin?
That's right.
What are we
That's
talking
right.
about?
You know what? Today, let's start off with, right now we're in some kind of era of uncertainty. There's a lot
100%.
going on. And
There is.
as I was driving over here, I'm hearing all these things about tariffs, and stuff like that. And I started to think about, you know what? Do tariffs really affect everybody equally? Because, I'm a CPA, so I'm looking at stuff that we use, the vendors that we have, and all that stuff. I don't think there's anything that we have internationally that's going to get affected. But then I look at one level lower. I've got clients that are in the construction industry. I've got clients who are in manufacturing. I've got clients in green energy and so on and so forth.
Dental
And I'm
implants.
like, well, if their margins start to take a hit, are they going to start calling me to try and drop my fees and all that stuff? But
By the way, you might get a call tomorrow about that.
is it affecting you? What's going on with
Yeah,
your tariffs?
Dental implants, most of them, the companies are like in Europe, so
Really?
and in Asia. So
Is it like there are no
There-
American suppliers
so
that can do
let me
it as
rephrase
well?
that. So they're suppliers, right?
Mhm.
But they're not manufacturers.
Oh.
The manufacturing plants are overseas. Like there's only from the research I did, there's only a couple of plants, and even the manufacturers use those plants. So it's like imagine it's one big plant, and you ran out of space with
They
machine. and
kind of
threw-
white label it for everybody.
No, you
or-
get to like bring your own like intellectual property, all the stuff, like that you have, all your ideas, but you get to use their equipment to make what you want. And a lot of the suppliers, I noticed that they're, they have stateside suppliers, but it's manufactured out of the
overseas,
country.
so it can't be considered as U.S. content or whatever that thing
Exactly.
is.
It
It's
still
just-
impacts.
I mean, they still have to
everybody.
get, FDA clearance and all that stuff, but it's just like I'm like, oh, so when are we getting this? 2 months? So what am I supposed to do between now and then?
Yeah.
But it's crazy. And then about immigration, like we were saying earlier, I read and I heard that they're paying money to people to snitch, like $750 a
$750?
$750 a confirmed kill.
That's
A confirmed capture. Yeah, I know. So there was a
Did
spoof
they say
going
it's
around.
not taxable even or something like that?
I don't know all the
Like-
deals. You should know. Like,
Wait, so is it ICE that set this up, or
look, man, I saw a post and I went down this rabbit hole, right? So, and then there was apparently this guy that was like, like I still don't think it's real, to be honest, because it was so like so unfathomable how like
You get paid.
real
to
he was
snitch.
about. I really don't believe it. I really think it's fake because he was like, I set up these. I thought about how can I, get have this go well or whatever. How can I help the new presidency? And he was like, I mean, I laugh, but it really is like so. It makes no sense. It's almost like so crazy that you only can laugh because it's
look at it?
makes no sense.
Look at it from this perspective, right? And I kind of want to link both together because on one end, you're talking about um,
Tariffs.
tariffs, and on the other end, you're talking about people being incentivized to snitch on undocumented folks.
Yeah.
You know what two things? I mean, what the something that keeps the common thing that they have what they have in common
What?
is inflation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Think of it from that perspective. I don't
Yeah.
think people actually understand that when
It's-
you increase tariffs,
it's
you know,
inherent.
it's the consumer that pays for it. Think of it from a business
Always.
from a business perspective.
That's correct.
If I'm selling something to you for $1, right, and now you're adding 25-cent tariff,
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. Next time I sell it to you,
It's gonna be.
I'm
for
selling it to you for
$1.25.
$1.25.
Yeah. I mean,
You get what I'm saying?
that's,
But,
like,
but wait,
easy
now
to
that
understand.
makes a price go up, right? Now look at this from this other angle. You talked about people
Mhm.
being paid, to let go of all these undocumented
Right.
immigrants, right? Think about the house that you live in. The reason why you're able to get the house you got for that price
Right.
is because there's a lot of
Cheap labor.
undocumented people.
Yeah.
Laborers.
You know what I'm saying?
A little bit less.
And I feel like people don't understand how so many things impact each other.
Right.
The reason why we're able to get the price or how we're able to have some type of, at least stability when it comes to the pricing.
There's a lot of supply of labor.
Exactly.
Now there's a limited.
You know,
Obviously, cut it in half in some
everybody
instances.
keeps saying
farmhands for sure.
made in America, but guess what?
Y'all ain't trying to do that.
Well,
Well,
if I gotta pay you,
Well, they're not-
minimum wage, I'm not going to be able to sell what I'm selling to you.
So I'm a little bit on the other side because they're not saying that immigration is wrong. They're just saying illegal immigration is
immigration.
wrong because
Well,
even in
I-
farming,
Yeah, but
we understand in farming. Yes, there's some
42% of
folks-
farmhands in California are undocumented. So
Well,
we
no,
about
but
to
there's
see
a
the
program.
pain.
There's a program
No,
to bring
no,
them in
Tosin,
legally.
Tosin.
yes.
There's an allotted
but-
amount of visas for farm work.
Tosin,
I
let's be
understand, but to make that quick of a change like that, you think we have the infrastructure to now let those oranges not rotten? Right? Like
Bro,
they're literally not being
not
picked.
not
I
even
get
that.
you. I'm just.
So
it's-
I get where you're coming
It's
from.
the timing, right? I can understand both sides, but all that matters is the bottom line. We about to suffer the consequences
Yeah.
or the benefits.
At some point, there
But-
has to be. You can't say, "Oh, we're gonna slowly fix things."
No, I know that.
Right.
But
I
look
mean,
at it.
so no
or
matter
can
what,
you?
there's going to.
Or can you?
Well, there's gonna be some pain
But
at some point.
look at this
Yes,
you know
but
what I
how
mean?
much are you looking to get nicked to death? Or are you looking to just get stabbed with no chance of
No, just stab me and
I-
pull it
I
out
want-
and let's
I want-
start suturing. and
I
all
want you
that
guys.
stuff,
I want you guys
alright?
to consider this perspective, right? You said for folks that are not documented, right?
Yes.
Now, put yourself. I want both of y'all to put yourself in this situation. You are now a documented immigrant, right?
Yep.
Most documented immigrant look for one thing. They want the American dream.
Yeah.
So they're going to inspire to do more, right?
I mean, that's
right.
the
So now,
American dream.
so now, wait. How am I? If I'm inspiring to do more, that means being a maid or being a person in the kitchen washing dishes. Like, there's a lot of jobs that if you're an inspiring person, you're not going to want to do.
You weren't able to
I still
get.
agree
well,
with you.
look,
I mean, even Drake said it. We start from the bottom, now we here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
but-
fine. Then
but
the
the
next person has the ability. Okay, let me
but
use
he's
this
saying
example.
Who's gonna be
Who's
the next
gonna-
person if you wiped out the bottom?
That's why we got immigration,
No,
bro.
no.
We got
No, they're trying to
Wait,
wipe
look,
they're trying to make sure
PK,
everybody's
P-
undocumented.
PK,
a lot
when
of
he-
Americans are
what-
all here by
what-
we weren't born here. You know?
Right, everyone's we're a
Everybody
nation
at
of
some
immigrants.
point,
We're a
like-
nation of immigrants, right?
Yes, you're a
But
nation.
he's saying that like the reason why some of those jobs are available and there's a adequate supply, right? Because supply and demand. If you have a lot of people wanting a job, you can keep the cost at a whatever comfortable amount, whatever. If there's not a lot of people wanting a job, now the people applying for the job are going to demand a higher pay because they don't want to do that job. And when you wipe out that supply of that rising
Well, why
ladder,
you guys
wait,
think
wait,
it's
wait.
gonna go to zero though? That's my
No, but
question.
that's the goal. That's their goal.
But even if it goes from
The
45 to
illegal,
10,
no, the illegal. That's what they're trying to get to zero, not immigration.
But I'm saying
that's
you
a
need
lot.
illegal. You need illegal in this country.
I'm
No, but
saying
then they
I'm
need
not
to,
pro.
well,
or,
maybe what they need to do then is to create more pathways.
that's what we've been saying.
Exactly.
No, you've been saying they take
No,
it
no, no,
to
no.
zero. It's
That's-
going down. It's going down.
But
We all about to
they're
die.
not creating more pathways. They're not increasing the amount of visas or
We
anything.
just got started, bro.
Who's we? You work for the government. He's a snitch. He's a snitch.
I need my check.
No, like back to what I was saying. That dude said he started calling he peeped game. He was like, I think a lot of my Uber and Lyft and Uber Eats and DoorDash, I think those people are like probably undocumented because that's easier. So he said he was
So he's gonna order
food
and snitch.
and lock him in his room
Oh, Lord.
illegally and restrict him in his thing. I was like, this has to be a
Please don't do this at home.
Don't do that. I was like, this
Don't
has to be
try
a
this
joke.
at
It
home.
has to be a joke.
All right.
He was like, I mean,
No,
I'm-
but it does give me a
like,
question
that's so
for Kay,
messed up.
though. You know, a lot of times nowadays, I'm starting to see more and more stuff that I'm suspecting, just like Alan is. You know, it's like a lot of these platforms now, they've reduced their, what do you call, moderation and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How do you know real from fake now? Somebody help me, you know, maybe that's why I stay off of social media.
I mean, you definitely got to fact check before saying. That's why I say I don't think this is real.
Nah, even fact checking, somehow they figure
Yeah,
out
I
how
know.
to post it.
Yeah,
like
I know.
3,
Every
4,
different-
5 different places. But
I'm saying actual credible media outlet or something, or a government credible.
What's credible nowadays?
Kate,
Everything
please.
is.
I mean,
Let me tell you something. Everything is sponsored, and as long as
No,
look,
their time always tells the truth. If you're trying to be the first, it's never credible. The credible, unless it is Shams.
no. So, bro, no. But here's the thing: the news, right?
Man.
You know, it's typically the news, right?
yeah.
But there's narrative around it,
Yeah,
and the
of course.
narrative is typically shaped in the favor of whoever the sponsor is. That's
Of
typically how it goes.
course. I mean, that's everything.
The airplane situation that happened, the airplane, the American airline, you know,
Yes, of
rest their
course.
God
Yeah.
rest their soul, that crashed into the helicopter.
Yeah.
If you're on CNN, the narrative is different from if you're on Fox,
Well, yeah, to
right?
some
You know,
extent,
on
right?
Fox, you know, Fox is blaming on DEI.
Right.
They're saying that, oh, because we're so focused on DEI,
Oh my
is the reason why there isn't much
Everything-
focus.
They said that?
Bruh.
Everything is about DEI right now. They're like, this happened because of
Everything
DEI.
is shaped
miss
around
that.
narrative.
I missed that one.
Yeah, oh,
Man,
even
and
the president said it.
Man, the
Your
DEI
president
thing
said
is like so
DEI.
sleazy right now. It's just I don't agree with that because it's like there's a stereotype that if you're a minority or black, then you got that job because of DEI. I'm like, statistically, white women benefited from DEI the most. And then I think it was like veterans and then Hispanics and Latinos and then Asians and like African American was like 6th or 7th on the list. But it's like, oh, if you're black, you have to get that because, you know, I'm like, no, the DEI was invented so that you aren't discriminated against if you're black and it's fair. So most of the black people in those roles literally work their butt and they're the best of the best. That's why when DEI is being eliminated from colleges and stuff, the enrollment stay the same because DEI didn't give them preferential treatment. It just made it so they wouldn't be overlooked because they're black. So therefore, I mean, it's just I don't like this whole like you know, affirmative action, DEI, everybody. There's just a stereotype of like, if you're black and got a certain job, or African American got a certain job, or if you're a woman and got a certain job, you got it because there was some kind of preferential treatment to give you that job. Instead of no, this is just protecting me from you not giving me the job because I'm this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my feelings on that. But
Do you
everybody
wanna-
got quiet.
No, do you want to add something about? I was almost gonna flip it on you guys
No, go
because
ahead. I wanna hear-
I like the topic of DEI and it's something that you know we're always, at least as minority men, black men, you know, it's something that always comes up because I feel I don't know.
Get it out, man.
Should I?
Go ahead.
Should I go there?
Drop
You
it.
know, All right, let's bring it up because actually let's pivot today. All right,
Ooh, these lights are hot.
let's pivot today. That DEI topic is actually something that always gets to me because I do feel, we're majority minority. Well, no, we're minority owned business.
Right.
My CPA firm is a minority owned
Yes.
business.
Right.
And talking to many other minority owned businesses, it
Right.
feels like we need more qualifications.
Right.
We need
I know.
more expertise. We need more more qualified people, staff members, whatever degrees, name it, claim
Twice
it,
as
whatever,
hard.
just to be able to even
equal.
be thought about,
Thought about, right.
in the room.
Right.
But then they talk about DEI and all that stuff. I don't know. It messes me up because it's like
You're like, that doesn't even
I have all of these licenses,
right. Like,
and you know where it gets even. All right, so this past
I know,
man, you guys shouldn't have got me
I
started down
know.
this
You
road.
might have to take off your blazer,
Alright.
bro.
These past 3 weeks, or maybe 4 weeks, this 2025, we've gotten so many new clients.
Mhm.
Right.
And not every single one of them that's coming to us.
Right.
If you hear the horror stories that other businesses,
Yeah.
other CPAs are doing to these people,
Mhm.
and I just have to tell them, like, yo, I can't even get away with a tenth of what this
Right.
person did to you.
Of course.
I can't. I mean, like, if I
Right.
just tried, people would be raising hell. People would
Right.
burn down my office.
Just
people
even
would
if you
leave,
just even said it
know?
aloud.
Forget the fact that you're Nigerian too.
Yeah, but you're coming to me. You're saying you're stuck with this person for 6 years, and now just it's like it's about time. I'm tired of that
Right.
BS. They haven't even filed my 2021 tax return. Can you help me
Ah.
finish 21, 22, 23? And we supposed to be doing 24 right now. I'm like,
What? Yeah.
I almost like die a little bit.
Yeah.
So-
it's just-
My question is, yes, they like to shoot DEI in our faces, saying that, hey, you only got here because of DEI. But I like what Alan is saying. It's not that we needed DEI to be.
to get an extra leg up.
Yes,
It's more so not
we
to keep
needed-
us down.
That's right. That's right.
Well, there's an interview by Warren Buffett, right? And a question. Somebody asked him a question. They said, Coca-Cola is one of the most diverse company in the entire world. They
Atlanta.
said
That's why.
Berkshire,
Yeah,
that's
Berkshire has
Berkshire
Yeah.
is the least diverse. And then they asked him a DEI question. They said, why is it that your board does not represent DEI, right? And you know what he said? He said when he's considering board members, for the director position, he said that he doesn't care about the color of your skin. He said DEI for him is actually a waste of money. He said all he cares about is, can you do the job? Do you have the business intellect? Are you going to provide value? And you know what I said? All I kept thinking about is, as much as he is correct, the reality is the people that look like us don't get the
those
opportunity.
opportunities.
That's where I was going, man.
even if
In football,
yeah.
they have a Rooney rule.
Yes,
You guys know
yeah.
the Rooney rule.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, the Rooney rule is basically when you are hiring a candidate for a coaching position, make sure that in the midst of those white folks that you're hiring, make sure that some of those are there's some diversity in it. So some
Right.
Black, Hispanic, whatever, right?
Right.
But you know what? Because of the whole Rooney rule,
Right.
a lot of those diversity folks get interviewed
And
not for
yeah.
real,
Just to meet the
consideration,
rules.
just to
Check
meet
off.
the
but
rules.
just to check it off.
Yes.
And so DEI, it makes it feels like, damn, did I really earn this job? But then on the other side, it's like, okay, don't bring me in for this interview if you know you're not really gonna,
Right. It's a
hire
waste
me
of time.
anyway.
Like you weren't thinking about me anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and the NFL is, I don't like to talk about a bunch of other businesses and almost promote them because it is a business, the
Yes.
entertainment business. But as much as I like sports, like football, like all that, it is kind of like crazy that like all for so long that a sport that's majority minority,
Yeah.
you can have any coaches who are minority. And now, even at the quarterback position, right?
Yeah.
In the last like 5 years, they're like, oh, Patrick Mahomes. So we got to go get us another one. Now everyone is getting like before it used to be like, if you're African American, you can't be a prototype pro style quarterback,
Yeah,
right?
you got to be a Vic.
You
type.
gotta, you can only be that. Now it's like, oh, well, if Mahomes did it, then yeah, let's go find us one. And it's kind of been like the culture. So I never got how you have to get someone that looks a certain way, the same way, CEO said, like, as far as like, can you do the job? Can you do it or can you not? I don't care what you are. You can be blue, purple.
only thing-
I really don't care.
That's the only thing that should matter.
I think at some point it's
That's
where
what it should be.
we're comfortable, and also when it comes to DEI, I think it works both ways too. If it's a minority-owned business,
Mhm.
how do you because our networks are networks,
Yeah.
right? So even though, let's go back to your example where Warren Buffett said, I only hire based on your talent, your qualification,
Right.
and all that stuff. Well, I'm probably I feel like I'm as smart as quite a few people,
Right.
Can I work at the Warren Buffett I don't know, but I wouldn't even get the chance to step in the room with him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know anybody he knows.
Okay.
Maybe 5 degrees of separation. Right.
I have a confession though, but I also have a question. Here's my confession. When I was running my company, right? If I had a black person
Uh-huh.
and a white person, and they both brought the same level
Equal,
of expertise,
everything.
Yes.
do you know I'm more likely to give it to the black person?
That's where
That's-
I'm going. That's why I was coming. I was coming a little
look,
bit.
look.
But my reason, right?
Because he doesn't get the same opportunity.
Because I know that he's not going to get the same opportunity
Correct.
somewhere
I-
else. Now,
But
here,
that's
now,
common for a
now,
lot of people.
after that confession, I want to ask you guys a question, right? Because I want this to be very, very beneficial for our audience. In the world that we live in, assuming that you have all the qualifications and you can do everything that is required for that position, that business, whatever, right? How do you overcome that?
I think. Are you saying from a employee standpoint or from a boss?
From an employee and from a business, maybe you
So-
can handle employee standpoint, and
so-
you can handle the business
well,
standpoint.
I was gonna say until you said the last part, but I think it's position dependent, right? So if I have everything all else held equal, right, and it's a black person or a Hispanic person or whatever the audience, if they're all equal, whatever the audience is and what the position requires, I'm gonna favor towards that. So if the audience is whatever, or the market is this, and they're all equal, I'm gonna pick someone who can identify with them more. It's not wrong. That's why it didn't make sense to me in the situation with the NFL, because I'm like, are your players are like I think it's like 80% minorities. So it's like, who that's how I am. So if I'm in a different situation and it's like the opposite, then I'm gonna go with the majority if I have to make that call, essentially.
Well-
Although it may not be fair and the minority are gonna be not represented in that, but if all else held equal and they're all equal, maybe I would say 4 out of 5 times I would go with the whatever the audience demands. And 1 out of 5 times I would go with what the audience doesn't demand, because the audience doesn't want it, right?
Well, then what you're going for is what some people may call that culture fit. However, because let's say
all else held equal, though.
well, that's what I'm
Not
saying.
all- but that's normal, though.
In rooms of wealth,
Yes.
more people will be white in that same room
Correct.
than any other minority.
Well, who are you representing? What is the business targeting?
That's
are
what
you
I'm
targeting
saying. So let's say
African
you're
Americans?
wealthy,
And it's an urban whatever.
let's say you're
You get
financial
Bro,
advisory.
saying it's a
company.
culture fit is basically like saying, look, you're black, that's why we don't want you.
Yeah.
No,
Or
I get,
your people that
No,
you're
not
serving
the
are white, so we want to use the white person because they'll connect better.
all else are held equal, though, is what I'm trying to say.
That's what we're saying. But that one
Like,
thing,
if all else aren't held equal, that would be biased. But the biases in this part are reflective of what you think
Society doesn't feel
your
that way.
audience wants.
yeah, but what the audience wants, how about we give them what we think they need, right? throw an apple in there, right?
And
People
then
don't
they
know
throw it back.
The thing,
They throw it back with cabbages and
Because-
stuff. Get outta here.
because what do you call it? You can actually give them a different
No, I
perspective
know.
that
That's
could
what,
challenge
again.
them.
Again, I
right?
said 4 out of 5
And they're
times.
like, whoa, I wouldn't have never
No,
met
listen,
this guy
listen,
if you didn't hire X, Y,
but-
Z
but
because
again-
you just wanted to
again-
give me the same old, same old.
Again, 80% to 20%. Hence the 4 out of 5 times. The 5th time is the 20%. So it's only you know I'm about the numbers. So
I'd love to
it's
hear your
only
perspective,
ratio.
Tosin.
I'm with you on that, but I'm trying to say 4 out of 5 times again. So if I hire 5 positions, the 5th one's gonna be this guy. Not all 5 leaning the same way. That's just how I feel. Because to me, I feel like it should be a proportion. That's the audience, meaning that's who it is that's tuning into it. But then if it's like the minority is never getting represented, you run into that issue of like, well, they can't tune in because nothing's representing them. But then do you flip your majority audience to force them to watch the minority 4 out of 5 times?
I actually disagree.
You see what I'm saying? Do you flip your, if your audience is
Look,
primarily,
People
primarily
don't know what they want until you give it to them.
Okay, Steve Jobs.
That's why I said give him an apple, you know?
No. Okay, then. That's what I'm trying to say. So 4 out of 5 times, you are going to give them what they don't want. No, you're not.
No.
That's
No,
not how
Give
you run
them
a
the
business.
skills that they need.
Exactly.
But they're all equal. You see what I'm saying? Like,
So
if you're,
that's
that's the whole point of it all being held equal. They all have the same exact skill, so all of them can do the job the exact same.
Here's what I'll respond.
Yeah,
all right?
let's hear.
On paper, I'll agree with you. People can look the same.
No, you just said all else is equal.
I know. I'm agreeing with
If
you.
it's
All right.
not equal, then it's not equal.
On paper, it can be equal. I agree. All right. However, like in
Charisma, all that.
that it can't be all. Equal.
That's what I'm talking
It
about.
can't all be
Like
equal.
you could be you and be somebody who's quiet and is not personable, right?
Yes.
And we all have the same degree. And I could be me and be someone that's very personal.
And
We're
if-
not equal. Like we're not equal.
No,
for the
but
job.
we're equal
We're
on
different
paper.
on
Let's
paper.
say
No,
I
I'm
had the
talking.
same degrees,
I'm
same
literally talking about
experience.
like you looking at one charismatic dude, another charismatic dude.
You can't judge
same
that till you speak
accolade.
to them, though. You can't judge people. You're
You
looking
can't-
at paper. So let's just
No,
look
no,
at
no.
paper.
You're asking me who I'm gonna hire versus
Okay,
who
so
I'm gonna
after you've
interview.
talked to them,
After I've talked to them, that's
Okay.
all else held equal. We're like, bro, it's a deadlock. Well,
yeah, but
We
the
got-
color of their skin is not what will decide whether they'll be good for whatever audience I'm about to throw this employee to, or to whatever client.
statistics show the opposite, my friend.
So check this out. Check this out. So what he's
Stats show
saying,
the opposite.
what he's saying is, if he wants to hire a business developer, right?
Yeah.
And let's say the crowd or the majority of the population that he's targeting, majority of them are white, or let's say majority of them are Hispanic,
No,
right?
let's not even do that. You're making a race thing. I'm even thinking about age. If majority of my clients are 70 years old, right?
You're not gonna.
And I'm not gonna bring it. Look. I have a
fresh-
70-year-old, like, and this is true. This happened to me. I have a 70-year-old. I worked in the office when I first came out. They're all like 60, 70, right?
Mhm.
They hired me. They're like, oh, he could do this. Da, 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 da. Every single one of them were like, where's my other doctor? You're like 20. How old are you? 14? I'm serious. They were all like, literally like, no. And but the only saving grace is I had a whole bunch of 50-year-old dentists with me who had to vouch for me. So again, proportionally, there were a greater amount of them and had to bring me in. You can't just bring a whole bunch of 20-year-olds and go have them talk to 70-year-olds.
I agree.
That's what I'm trying to say to you.
So-
I'm saying like the proportion has to make sense because in my book and statistics.
All right,
has
let's
proved
hear
this.
Tosin.
No. I agree with that point, right?
But I'm trying to take it out of race and make it more of an age so everybody can stop taking it personal.
No. I mean, I agree with you. When I bought my first CPA firm, right? How old was I? Maybe 20.
Okay, big pimp.
I forgot the age, right? But
He's like-
it was early 20s.
He was like 17. And I was,
When I made my first million,
I made my first couple of
Amen.
M's.
You know, it's God.
I got-
But what ended up happening is that I was just as young as many of their children.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like they were in
Grandchildren.
college.
Grandchildren.
So I would come in and they would be like, man, you're young. You know, man, you're young. That was
Yeah.
the first thing. But that first CPA that, you know, I bought his firm, he was there.
vouching.
He stayed there. And he was just vouching. He's like, yeah, how you doing? Hey, good to catch up. Oh, yeah, Toastin's got you. Oh, yeah, Toastin's got you. He kept vouching. And that's how they all got
They
comfortable.
had to put you on for the culture to change.
Yeah, so
exactly.
I definitely do agree, but it doesn't mean that you still, because my perspective and my way of doing things was light years away from what he was
Yes,
doing.
correct.
And the clients ended up liking it. So it doesn't mean that we
Correct.
can't give them something
Correct.
that they don't know they need,
But
but it just requires a little bit of support.
whoa, let me. Okay, that's my whole point.
Okay,
4-1. 4 supporters to 1.
I
You
agree.
need that. You need that because you can't just be like, here.
If you're
this
gonna
is
give-
force it down their throat.
Okay,
They're gonna
okay,
reject.
if you're gonna give people something a little bit different, it requires some support.
Yes, like
Okay.
that's why I said you can't. If you're asking me, oh, like if I had people all else held equal, 80% of my demographics lies this way, 20% lies this way. Am I gonna give them, you know, 5 out of 5 times give them 20%? You know what the 20% want? No, like that don't make no sense.
But then how do you now go back? Maybe this is for Kay, but how do you go back and start diversifying? Because as you have said, Mr. Statistics, all right,
So,
diverse opinions always give you the best outcomes.
yes, you have to.
But
If
you're
there's
saying
5
that you
people-
don't always give them
Look,
the diverse.
Look, I do. Just you can't go from like 80 per, you know, I keep harping this because I feel like nobody's understand what I'm saying. You can't just
Hopefully
go from,
somebody
like-
out there put it in the notes. I feel
can't-
you, Alan.
if you
can't-
understand
no, you just
what
get-
Alan is saying, please put in the comment
Put it in the
section that
comments.
I feel you, Alan, because I'm not feeling you, Alan.
Nah, man, because look, okay, so you can't just go from this way to staunch this way. There has to be, like, so let's say
Are you going back to
let's
that
say-
immigration thing?
Alan
we
doesn't-
do?
you don't like disruption.
let's say there's 5 of us, right?
Okay.
And we want to diversify, right? And now we're all thinking about retiring, and we want to switch to, I don't know, like a Hispanic or a different demographics that looks like us.
Mhm.
We're not gonna put the whole thing like that. We're just gonna maybe replace 1 or 2 of them and so forth. You just can't. Diversification doesn't happen. No one giving them change down their throat.
But what if we
It
got the
has to be
experience?
walked
If
in.
we have the experience of doing that, why not? Okay, like even if
All else held equal, we're saying if we're assuming you're now assuming it, you're the only experience.
No.
We're saying if there's someone looks like you and someone looks like him, you're all qualified, all charismatic. The viewer testing like each of y'all one at a time, but all 5 of y'all at once, we don't know how that's gonna work. No one on the planet takes change forced down their throat. And I'm pro diversity, but I know that people themselves are not. So as much as you think idealistic, they're like, oh, let me just change everybody. No, they're gonna reject.
No, that's not what we're saying.
That's
that's not what we're saying. I'm saying one of my favorite quotes: "Be the change that you want to see." Right.
correct.
And for me, diversity is very important to me
It is.
because it diversifies the different ideas that are coming in. Right.
I agree.
And my mindset, to go back to your point, my mindset wouldn't be, well, if majority of the clients are 60, then I need to make sure that the age range is closer. My mindset would be, okay, this person is quite young. What can I do to set them up so that
as
they
opposed,
can feel the impact?
but I think y'all are forgetting, as opposed to you have someone. So you're saying that like, oh, like my peers, majority of my clients are 60, right?
Uh-huh.
Your clients in your business, right? You're just gonna change your whole staff when you have equally good people in the same
We're
age
not saying
range.
change the whole
I'm just
staff.
saying, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. Exactly.
We're
But-
saying if you're bringing somebody in, you're not going to bring the same type of people. This is diversity we're talking about here.
But then
Okay,
you're
let me-
saying
let
what
me
I'm
give-
saying. You're just saying like you're literally saying the same thing I'm saying. You can't make that big change like that. You
No,
just
no,
said it.
we're not saying okay. Maybe going all the way back. We're not saying like the change has to be like massive and big. We're saying if two people show up that
Yep.
are equal on paper
And charisma, because the personality is a big thing.
and
You can be
personality
unequal, and if you don't have the personality, you ain't getting it. That's a lot of places.
and personality checks the boxes,
Right.
would you hire the person that is a better fit for your clients,
Or because they're apparently
Or-
both better fit than the guys. That's all.
or a better fit? Maybe let me put it this
That's-
way:
that's-
a better fit for your clients or a better fit for your company.
Man,
But what you're saying, that's not equal. Like that's not equal.
What do you mean?
benefit.
That's
better-
not all
benefit
things held equal at this point. That's unequal.
No. But you've got.
Man, all I know is
Like, that's-
clients come and go.
My whole
Companies
point
here to
is that,
stay.
like, we started as literally everything held equal. Good fit for you, good fit for the client, but one's gonna be a little bit better because they look like them. People just it's human nature to identify with what you feel comfortable with. And for you to take someone completely out of their comfort zone with no mitigation, it's hard for them to swallow it.
I agree.
Like they're
Okay, maybe we're all saying the same thing
Apple
after
walked
some
us-
time.
Apple
We're not
walked
saying
us-
that okay, just throw everybody out, bring everybody in new, and then just
That's
like
what y'all making it seem like.
no,
like,
we're not
ain't
just
nobody gonna do
saying,
that. They're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna buy a
no
new
trauma,
company.
no trauma, no. Maybe if we bring it
I
back
need a
to
new CPA. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, you know new CPA. No,
Nah,
but
I'm
it's
kidding.
about bringing it back to the opportunities afforded to those that have the qualification.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Correct. So back to what we were saying is that like I'm definitely for diversification. I just know from my experience and for reading why this didn't work, because I think it's to some level we're idealistic in thinking that like everyone, because you and I may see like a whole bunch of change and we'll figure it out and we'll still run with it. But unfortunately, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So if you force some of this change on people that they're not wanting, they will fight back and
Yeah.
roll out. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. If I'm gonna force a change, if I make five new hires, every fifth one will be someone different.
Mhm.
And then next time, if I make 5 more new hire, every fourth and fifth one will be someone different. So it has to be a gradual change.
But that's at
in
your
the
level.
culture.
But that's at your level where you are okay and you want change. You understand
Right.
diversity. The people that I feel like they're being quote unquote forced to change is that if there wasn't any type
Oh,
of
because
rule,
they wouldn't. That's
they
what I'm
would-
trying to say.
Yeah,
They wouldn't. Yeah.
Right.
But I was gonna say because
But also in those situations, the messed up thing is all things weren't held equally. One was clearly more qualified, but they were like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
Let's get him. He's my homie's friend. Like,
So remember the question I asked earlier about, how do you overcome that, right? I was looking for, because for me, I've dealt with that in the past. And one of the ways that I've been able to overcome that is through relationships, right? Whether it's a mentor, right? Whether it's a coach, whatever the case is, right? But relationship has always been something key because through those relationships,
got me
I've been able to get in certain rooms. Through those relationships, I've been able to get hired.
Oh.
Through those relationships, I've gotten opportunities that I would have not been able to get without the relationship, right? So I wanted to, pitch that to you guys. What do you guys feel about, people potentially getting, coach or mentors in their lives?
I think that's like great. The end. No, I'm just kidding. No. I'm with you. Like,
I mean, do you agree that
100%.
something
Yes.
with all
'Cause
these
you don't-
roadblocks, sometimes you kind of need that person that kind of helps you.
you definitely need that. Like sometimes you don't know what you don't know. It's been situations where I actually didn't know what I did wrong, and I was like, I literally had to. It was bothering me. I had to ask everybody what their credentials were. And I was like, because I thought I was a shoo-in. I was like, what? And and it wasn't from like me being a cocky. It's just I felt like I like
You
worked
qualify,
hard
yeah.
to get there. And then I started looking. I was like, dang. I left. I was like, dang. Everybody's that much better than me. Like it really had me feeling some type of way. Like I thought I already. Like how much higher do I need to go to? I thought this required this amount of work. I guess it needs this amount of work. Then my friend was like, and my sister, and was like, have you ever asked, to find out like what the other qualifications or what the other applicants? And I go, man, when I say it thoroughly lit a fire under me when I was like, bro, qualifications ain't even close. Like not even like nilch, nothing. And I was like, well, let me maybe they got better personality than me. Maybe everyone likes them. No, one
have
was
the
the
right
homie
connection.
hookup.
Yeah.
One was the homie hookup, and the other one was just other two just got it. And I didn't. It took someone else to tell me who didn't look like me to tell me what it was, and I was like,
Was that like a
"Word?"
mentor or?
It was just somebody who was brutally honest. He was like, yeah, it's not that. It's just they just go better with this person because of this. And he was like, I was like, oh, he was like, I didn't feel that way. It wasn't me, but that's how they felt. And I was like, but they took people who were less significantly not I want to say less qualified was being kind. Unqualified is the word that I would use. And I'm not even a hater like that because I didn't even think too much. And that really got me to like, mentorship was like, you know what? Like, don't even be mad because you wouldn't have wanted that position because they wouldn't have if they don't want to feel comfortable around you or they
You
felt
wouldn't
some
wanna
type of
be there.
way or whatever, you don't want to be there. There's gonna be somewhere better for you, to be honest. And you put in the work, just keep putting in the work and you'll be fine. And, I'm not going into details of what level of my education or career it was, but I remember it to this day where I'm like, man, because I was walking around really like feeling defeated. Like I was like, dang, I literally almost switched careers because I was like, man, like I don't like, because when you really put your heart and you thought you did really good, I'm like, bro,
I
I,
killed it.
I like there are many other things where you're like percentile wise, I'm in this percentile. Like if you're like at 97 percentile of something, then you don't think you're gonna be like get nothing, right? You're like, okay, so I gotta be in 0.1 percentile. Like, who are these people? Like, who I gotta know. And to find out like their percentiles were like 50 and below, and you're like, what? Like, that's like that made me really like I think that was the first like career driven experience I had where I felt like, oh,
But
this is what people were
if
talking
you would have had some sort of coach or a mentor, do you feel like that would have changed your trajectory in terms of
if I
being
wouldn't
able
have had one.
if you would have had one?
So that's when I kind of developed when I went to one of the people who I looked up to and stuff, and they were like, it happens. Like I was like, I guess in my head I was like, in healthcare though, don't they just like I didn't even think in those terms in my field, if that made sense, because I wasn't even on that level. I
So
was
how
like,
did it help you or guide you to?
just motivated me.
Okay.
Like, look, man, you still gotta make, and that's another thing I learned from that experience. The person who also there was other people who got in, and one of them was just a homie hookup. It made me realize like I need more homie hookups. Like,
Relationships is
and that's what he
important.
told me. He was
There
like,
goes
bro, you gotta go
relationships, yeah.
network, build like. You're just a paper and you were great in the interview. However, before the interview, you should already go into the interview dapping everybody out.
Right.
Like you do your end as far as like on paper, but you have to have those relationships
Yeah.
so you're already there. Unfortunately, the world is about people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I don't know you, I might like you. You're probably gonna go with someone who you know
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
and know every because you might be like, oh, he just walked in the door. He's great on paper, great personality. He could be actor. This could be made up. We
Yeah.
don't know nothing about him, So that's one thing I learned about that. But that's kind of how I viewed it.
So Tosin, I know you got a CPA firm, right? And you've talked previously in the past about how you didn't get to where you are by yourself, right?
That's
You've
right.
gotten a lot of
That's right.
help. So
That's
can you
right.
kind of educate our audience of the importance of either a coach or a mentor and differentiate the difference and apply it to yourself, how it has helped you to get to where you are.
You know,
Mouse.
I sent you guys like that video of Vusi that I was watching that was breaking down between coach and mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just paraphrasing pretty much, a mentor is there, somebody who's there to support you, but a coach is there day to day. So if you look at it like a sports, like a a sports team,
Yeah.
Right.
coach is there. You do practice,
Give you
and then
structure,
show to the
help you with
games.
your skills.
That's right,
Mhm.
right. So that's what a coach is, but a mentor is not there day to day.
Right.
Right. They're more big picture.
Right.
All
Because
right.
they've experienced it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now, in what we've done, when I was having my first meeting of the year with my mentor, he's like, "Hey, Tosin, do you have mentors, or do you have a advisory
Mhm.
board?"
Mhm.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said,
you
"Yeah,
did say that.
I do. You're one of them." He's like, "I am."
You didn't tell
Like,
me.
yeah, I got that person. I got that person. I got that person. He's like, "Huh? You do?" I'm like, "You don't know?" He's like, "No. Is it formalized?"
Yeah.
Mm.
Right? Some of these things we like to think, "Oh, I've got a mentor here. I've got a coach there. I've got this. I've got that." But is it formal? Is it formalized in such a way that it's part of
Structure.
your structure, your business
Mhm.
structure, your personal or family structure, or something like that?
Mm.
Decision making process.
Yes.
like
Is
you
it
always
part
know
of your
that.
decision making
Yeah.
process?
Yeah.
To where now I've even incorporated that because I'm a risk taker,
Mm.
So now if I need to make some different investment
Risk taking
moves,
CPA.
I need to go through a
Period.
few of my different advisory members, and I can't just be throwing money out there anyhow anymore. All right. I got to go through them. All right. But then now it takes me to a coach.
Hmm.
So a coach, I really don't have too many coaches, but
I don't need to.
recently I signed up for a coaching program.
Oh,
I
Good.
knew
So
that.
Layla and I, my COO and I, well, maybe I forced her. So it's this program, it's an 8-week program, and it's supposed to teach you about sales and structure within your business.
Mhm.
All right. And one thing that happened, like as soon as we jumped in, they started talking, and I was like, who are these people? Like, what are they teaching us? They're teaching us how to drink milk. I paid all this money
a lot of money.
to learn how to drink milk. And I kind of backed off and gave up. So
What did Layla
yesterday, Layla called me out.
do?
She's like, Tosin, you spent a lot of money on this thing.
A lot.
A lot of money on this
You
thing.
could gave me
It
that
was
bonus.
Your credit card that you
You
spent.
could have given me that money. I would have told you how to drink it.
Right.
And it got me thinking, especially, as it got me thinking because it was like, if you really have a coach,
Mm.
a new coach walks in, we've used a little bit of
Yeah.
sports analogies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When they first come in, the first things that they're going to be doing are
Testing.
things you already know.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're a football player, maybe you're a quarterback, yeah, throw the ball. Oh, yeah, do a corner
They're
route.
testing you.
They're just, you're like, I've been doing this since Pee Wee League.
They wanna
Come
know-
on, what?
They
Are
want to
you
know
a
where you are.
Are you a real coach?
Right.
Nah. Trust
The process.
Says. All right.
You're
Double
in
D.
week one, Tosin, and you already given up on the coach. And we do that so many
Because you want an
times.
end result fast.
That's it.
You're like, I seen on TV.
You-
Aren't we gonna start like
You
drawing up better
You
plays?
promised me, coach,
Yeah.
you're gonna get me ripped. You're gonna get me those abs, those six packs.
I know you got me. You got me stretching the whole first week.
That's it. And it's like, if you want a coach, if you get a coach, you've got to trust the process.
Yeah.
And that coach is got to be there with you on a day-to-day basis throughout whatever that program is.
Y'all
Now,
probably forgetting the coach, man.
There could be
gotta go.
coaches for periods. I don't think you should, well, personally, I don't think a coach is going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Now, a coach can turn into a mentor after they finish their program. Maybe
Right.
it's just you're checking in back in because, hey, you know what? You helped me get to 1,000 push-ups a day. 2 years later, I call you back and, you motivate me because I'm still doing my 2,000 push-ups a day. Whatever it is, right?
Just
So the coach-
2,000.
Sorry.
Only.
Some people are doing way more, I guess. But that coach can turn into a mentor, but then you take the coach for the next level,
Yeah.
and then the
Yeah,
next
that's true.
coach for the next
Yeah.
level, and the next coach for the next adversity,
Yeah.
and the next coach for the next structure, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So coaches have to be strategic with your coaches.
Let me share my experience. So when I was running Zazu, I had never been a COO before, right? And somebody asked me, they said, "Have you ever done this before?" I said, "No." So it's like, "How are you operating?" I said, "I'm just winging it, man. I'm just doing it.
dude.
I just I got I was like, as it's coming, I'm just learning." And then they said, "Get a mentor."
Yeah.
Right? I said, "What do I need a mentor for?" For anybody that might think, "Why do I need a mentor?" You need a mentor for three. I call it the
Because
WAG.
you don't know you need a
I
mentor.
call it
Number
the
one.
WAG. WAG for wisdom,
Uh-huh.
advice,
Uh-huh.
and guidance.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
Because they have the experience and they have already been there before.
Failed so many
So
times. They
when
can figure it
a
out.
when it comes to mentorship, you're looking for wisdom,
Mhm.
you're looking for advice, you're looking for guidance, right?
Well, that was
Now-
easy. I remember that.
Yes, it's the WAG. I call it the WAG, right? That's my own personal. Now,
No,
I
that also
realize-
means wives and
no,
girlfriends.
no. WAG. Now, when it comes to coach, you know, I
Reality
remember I
shows.
started speaking to a lot of investors, and my public speaking was terrible.
Mm.
Wow.
And somebody said, "Have you considered getting a public speaking coach?"
Yeah.
Right? And I said, not
Talk
really.
now.
And then they made me to realize how many filler words I was using.
Mhm.
Like, first of all, by the way, one of the things I learned is if you want to become a great public speaker, record yourself for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? After recording yourself for 5 minutes, do three things. The first thing, just play it and don't look at it. Just listen to what you're saying.
Yep.
Second thing, right? Play it, but turn the noise off. Just see your body language, right?
Okay.
And then the third thing, just look at your just look at the entire thing and say, if I'm not you, like, basically critique yourself, right? So, but I didn't mean to divert. I got a coach, a public speaking coach, and she was telling me that 80% of what I have to say is through body language.
Yep.
Yeah.
That people rarely listen to words. So if my body language spoke confidence, that people were going to listen to me. And at first, she had me doing this, she had me doing that. And I was like, man, I really don't want to do this. But what I failed to realize is that she was building my skills. She was giving me the structure.
Yeah.
You know? So I can definitely agree with you on that.
And I was struggling with that coach. I'm still struggling with that coaching class. We still at the, like, hey, pass the ball, use your left
But
foot, pass
you
the
know
ball.
how you instantly look and feel more confident if you just put your hands on your hip like this.
Yes, that's one of the
That's
things
a
they
real
talked about.
thing. That's a
Yeah,
real thing.
Because you feel more relaxed.
You feel if you do this, if you're like talking, even right now, don't I just look cool all of a sudden? Versus like this.
Your body posture.
But like,
Yeah.
because we MBA program, we did a lot. We did all the stuff you talked about, communications. Like we had a whole thing where you had to like record yourself, watch it with no audio, watch it with the audio, critique yourself.
Yeah.
Just say what you want to say. They will be like, they give you this long thing, right? There's like, you got to say it in 2 sentences, but you got to convey it. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how do I convey it? And so you learn to be like more concise
Yeah.
with your words
Yeah.
when you're presenting. And you also, another thing I learned is that you got to speak, you have to speak slower.
You
So
learn
that you get a chance to actually like not say like in between your filler words,
Well, you can't talk too slow though.
No.
you
Just so that you can your brain isn't going faster than your mouth can keep up.
Okay.
body language, your
Yeah.
tone of voice is very important.
Mhm.
But hey, look like it's about that time.
It is.
Want to appreciate you guys for tuning in to Beyond the Grind.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's your boy K. I got
Alan.
And Tosin,
Hey.
make sure you hit that subscribe,
Yes.
like button.
And keep your hands on your hips. It makes you look confident.
Yes, and get a mentor and get a coach.
Oh, wait, is it because the hips don't lie? That I put your hands on?
I don't know about
I'll see
that.
you guys next time.
All right, man.